from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Coming up on Ag Day.
We will enforce our trade laws and restore integrity to our trading system.
The president continues his tough talk on global trade, plus the latest cattle on feed numbers in agribusiness, breaking down the recent bean rally.
You need to start really thinking about where your levels are and have some kind of a plan put together, because beans back over $10 should be taken advantage of.
Machinery Pete is looking back at fourth quarter trends and meet this year's Innovative Dairy Farmers of the Year.
Ag Day, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Clint Griffiths. The administration hoping to continue momentum for the U.S. economy and trade following last week's meetings and the president's speech in Davos, Switzerland.
We support free trade, but it needs to be fair and it needs to be reciprocal, because in the end, unfair trade undermines us all. The United States will no longer turn a blind eye to unfair economic practices.
The administration is in the middle of renegotiating multiple trade deals. Betsy Gibbon reports.
Trade continues to be top of mind for the administration, especially following last week's retaliation on China's solar industry. That has the industry worried soybeans may get stuck in the middle. The president announcing a 30% tariff on solar panel imports with China. Now there's talk it may go after steel and aluminum imports next.
If they do say things like that, in this world of the way the trade thing works, they probably will think they have to do something.
We're seeing export issues because this thing is not just about the washing machines and the solar panels. It started with the intellectual property with the Chinese. This steel and aluminum thing is coming down the pike. So these are all little burrs under the saddle. I don't really worry about it that much, to be honest with you.
Meanwhile, another round of NAFTA trade talks ending in Montreal this morning between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Trump last week at the White House highlighting the renegotiation is moving along well, but if it does not work out, he says they'll terminate it.
It's a very classic Trump negotiating angle. He has said that these talks could well go after the Mexico's elections in July. Mexico has said they can negotiate prior to their elections, but I really think we're talking near the end of the year before we see these talks end. I privately believe that we will get an agreement.
It's what we live by. We need NAFTA. We need the trade with our closest neighbors, and the way he's doing things. I'm not sure that it works in these type of agreements, but it's worked for him very well in real estate, and maybe he might be taking that forward and not letting the opposition or the other party know that you're desperate to get something done.
Also this week, trade discussions between the U.S. and South Korea for the KORUS deal, a deal which has not been implemented too long.
Across the agricultural spectrum, you see great strides in the market share that the United States has gained into Korea as tariffs on ag products have gone down. So the beef exports have gone up 60%.
At the same time, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement is moving forward without the United States. The president now vocal about potentially renegotiating TPP if the U.S. could get a substantially better deal. Reporting for Ag Day, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
The president met with executives while he was in Davos, Switzerland. Bloomberg reporting the president asking Bayer CEO Werner Baumann in Davos, "Are you going to be investing in the U.S.?" When Baumann noted a $16 billion investment of purchasing Monsanto in St. Louis, the president nodding his approval. Washington will have plenty on its plate as work resumes this week, from immigration talks to fixing a loophole in the recent tax bill. The ag industry claiming the new tax code is a red flag, picking one side over the other. Provision 199A has private elevators saying it will put them at a disadvantage to farmer-owned co-ops. What's the likelihood that portion of the tax code could change? Tyne Morgan sat down with Paul Neiffer at the Agribusiness Desk.
Thanks so much, Clinton. Yeah, here at the Agribusiness Desk with Paul Neiffer. Paul, when we look at 199A within this tax reform, there's been a lot of buzz about it. Why is it creating so much controversy within agriculture?
The primary issue is that at the very last minute, they put in a provision that was designed to sort of keep the cooperatives on the same footing as they were under the old 199. And because of that, it really wasn't vetted as well as it maybe should have been there at the very end of the tax bills. So what's happening is farmers that sell to a cooperative actually potentially get a much larger deduction than if they sell to the privates. So because of that, you know, the privates got together, they've gotten together with the senators that sort of helped crafted it, and they've gone and said, okay, we need to sort of get this fixed, and that's the process where we're at right now.
Yeah, we're trying to get that fixed. I know legislators are trying to tie that in to the larger budget bill, the stopgap measure that was passed this week. No, nothing tied to that, of course. So, you know, there's still possibilities that we could get it fixed if we can reach a deal in Congress. But my question is, Paul, how do you not foresee this potential issue with 199A? I mean, it seems like a pretty big loophole.
It's just the law of unintended consequences. It was designed to sort of keep the dairy farmers and the sugar beet farmers on the footing that they were at before. Those large processing type cooperatives were able to pass through a good sized deduction to them. You know, when they put in this new provision, the law of unintended consequences didn't realize it was going to provide such a large deduction for the crop farmers, and that's why we're having this issue right now.
But you do think that we'll see a fix?
I think we'll definitely see some type of a fix.
All right, Paul Neiffer, thank you. And we'll continue to cover this on Ag Day as well. Clinton, back to you.
All right, thanks, Ty. Now on Friday, USDA releasing its January cattle on feed report amid expectations of increasing numbers at America's feedlots. USDA says 11.5 million head were on feed as of January 1st. That's 8% higher than a year ago. Heifers were 16% higher. Analysts attributing increasing dryness and a bigger herd to the increase. Now placements into feedlots sold 1.8 million head, a 1% increase. Marketings were 1% lower. A shakeup may be brewing at the Humane Society of the U.S. Its board of directors is investigating CEO Wayne Pacelli for workplace misconduct. A special committee has been formed to oversee the investigation. The board chair says they cannot share any information at this time. Meanwhile, Decatur, Michigan farmer Mike Stamp pleading not guilty last week in federal court. He faces 14 federal charges, including crop insurance fraud and bankruptcy fraud. According to court records, Stamp made false claims about the number of acres he farmed, forged false documents, hid money and assets, and was also in a multi-person federal crop insurance fraud scheme. 2 other individuals were indicted along with Stamp. Stamp was arrested in December, but released on bond in January. A new court date is set for February. Cindy Clausen is in for Mike Hoffman today, and she has today's crop comments. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Clinton. There's not too much going on in farm country during January in Iowa. That's why Kyle Wendland and his son are doing some shop work this week. Temperatures in northeast Iowa are lingering in the 20s and 30s. And Ron Haas sent us this picture from Mato Grosso, Brazil. He says farmers should begin harvesting soybeans soon. They are anticipating 53 bushels an acre. We'll have your national forecast coming up in just a few minutes, but for now, here's a look at some hometown temps.
Save time each day and receive the latest market prices directly to your cell phone with market updates. It makes it effortless to stay aware of shifting market prices. Just text Markets 8 to 31313 to get started.
All right, when we come back, we'll look at last week's uptick in soybean prices, plus Machinery Pete is here.
Stay tuned, folks. Coming up, I'll give you the inside scoop on the latest with used equipment values.
And later, we're off to Pennsylvania to meet this year's Innovative Dairy Farm of the Year.
Here now with Brian Split. Brian, when we look at these soybean prices, I mean, recently in January, we had some favorable action in the soybean pit. Is that fundamentally driven or more emotional at that point?
Well, I think the trade right now is paying attention to South American weather. It's been very dry in Argentina, but from a weather perspective, the gist that I'm getting from our weather consultant is that what we potentially are losing in Argentina is going to be offset by Brazil. Brazil's going to have a great crop, so the totality of the two still looks like we're going to have a lot of competition out of South America. And I think that means that this weather rally right now, similar to the one that we had in early December, is an opportunity to get some marketing done.
So your advice is take advantage of these prices right now.
Right. I understand that a lot of the old crop has probably been moved, and if a producer is holding on to some of the old crop, it may be some minor bushels that they want to hold on to as some, gambling bushels, for lack of better terms. But I think right now, as we're getting ahead and looking at the November 18 contract and the new crop, if you haven't done anything yet, you need to start really thinking about where your levels are and have some kind of a plan put together, because beans back over $10 should be taken advantage of.
Do you have any specific examples of a plan that's worked?
You know, one thing that we did last year, and I think we've got a very similar setup to last year with very similar price levels, is we go into the short-dated options. And a short-dated option, the short-dated moniker, means that it's priced off of the new crop contract. So it used to be that you had to go all the way out to November and buy all of that premium to have an option for new crop. Now you can have a short-dated option. So one of the things I've been doing recently is selling an at-the-money call. So today that might be a 10-10 call, and using that one call to buy 2 990 puts at even money. So if the market goes up, it's no worse than being short one future contract, but if the market goes down drastically from here, you've got double the coverage. So 25% sold call equals a 50% coverage on two puts.
All right, Brian, thank you so much. Some solid advice there. We appreciate it. All right, stay with us. We need to take a quick break, but then we'll have a check of weather on Ag Day.
To talk to Brian Splitt one-on-one, call Allendale Incorporated at 800-551-4626 or email him at bsplit@allendale-inc.com. Ag Day, brought to you by Liberty Herbicide, the simply better solution for superior weed control and a stronger yield.
Back to Ag Day with Cindy Clausen, looking at rainfall over the last week, Cindy, and it looks like really a lot of it was concentrated on the other side of the Rockies and maybe into the Northeast.
Yeah, other than the kind of the Pacific Northwest, a lot of what we've seen over the last week has been in the east. Let's take a look. And you can see that we did have some rainfall and some snowfall in parts of the Plain States, upper Midwest, all the way down the Mississippi River. But kind of where we saw the heaviest rain was really over in the northeastern United States, and some snow as well. And as you take a look, especially over in kind of the north central part of New York, where we had some heavy amounts of precipitation. And here's a look at what we can expect as we head into the week. And we're going to see some ups and downs, but a lot of cold air, especially in kind of the north central United States, where we see this big trough that's dipping down into the Great Lakes and beyond. We're looking at warm temperatures to start off the week in the western United States. Trough digs all the way down into the southeastern United States, kind of moves off. We still remain cold along the northern tier of states, but we kind of moderate a little bit in some of the central United States. Still warm though out west. As you head into the latter part of the week, still warm out west, but another trough digs deep into the south. So we're looking at some pretty cold air, especially to end our week as we move on along. And then we see that trough continuing into the northeast. So looking for some really cold air, especially to the end of the week, into the weekend, and even into the early part of next week. All right, as far as this week, below normal temperatures, and I bet they're going to stretch even further to the east than this. We're looking at those above normal temperatures, especially out in the southwestern parts of the United States. All right, as we take a look at our precipitation, I know a lot of folks are concerned about that. We're looking at some above normal precipitation in the eastern parts of the country. A little dry out in much of the Plains states and into the Four Corners region, but above normal in much of the Northwest. As far as the next 30 days, we are looking at below normal temperatures for much of the Great Lakes, in fact, much of the eastern part of the country, and we're looking at the above normal temperatures as we get over into the southwestern United States. And then as we get into your precipitation, we are looking at above normal precipitation, Great Lakes down into parts of the Ohio and Tennessee valleys into the northeast. Also in the northwest, the dry spots are expected to be in the southeastern United States and in much of the southwestern United States as well. That's a look at your national forecast. Now let's check out the weather where you live. Centralia, Washington, rain is likely for you today with a high of 52 degrees. Park River, North Dakota, partly cloudy and cold with a high of 8 degrees. And Paris, Tennessee, sunny and cooler with a high of 39.
When we come back, Machinery Pete rolls out his Q4 equipment price trends. Info buyers and sellers won't want to miss. And later, 2 centuries of work on this Pennsylvania farm hasn't dampened this family's passion for innovation.
Ever wake up wondering what does today's weather have in store? Well, with weather updates, it delivers the local forecast right to your cell phone each morning to make preparing for the day easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
Machinery Pete is brought to you by John Deere. Where can you find the most comprehensive inventory of John Deere certified pre-owned tractors, combines, and sprayers? MachineFinder.com. Sometimes the best new addition to your fleet isn't new.
Machinery Pete is always looking for price trends in the equipment market. Well, today he's looking back at the fourth quarter in sales. Greg?
So what's up with used farm equipment values? Well, I answer that question every quarter in our Machinery Pete Used Values Index report. Now here's a look at our recently released fourth quarter report, and this is the overall equipment index, so covering all types of used farm equipment. Now I've been putting this report out for 7 years, and it's based on all the auction sale price data we compile. And the index is based on a simple 1 to 10 rating scale, with 6.0 being what I've always considered stable/normal used values. Now you can see we've had some wild swings over the years, ratcheting up to an all-time high late 2007, all the way through early 13, and then falling like a rock, used values dropping late 13 through 14 and 15. But notice now in the graph, from the start of 2016 right till now, we've leveled off. And in fact, in the fourth quarter 2017, we jumped up a little bit from an index rating of 6.5 to 6.7. Now, what was driving that? Well, I think number one, yields came in better than were expected over much of the U.S., and that was increasing optimism. And number two, we have to consider now that it's been almost 5 years that we've had these lower commodity prices, tough profit pressure. And at some point, you know, if you aren't buying new, you still got to do what you got to do. You need the best quality used equipment. Now, it's not just the auction prices we're seeing very strong on good condition equipment. We've also seen big spike in search traffic to our machinerypete.com website, the equipment listings. In fact, high horsepower tractors in the fourth quarter, search traffic up 67% versus third quarter, combines up 62%, and planters up 106% in the fourth quarter.
When we come back, one of the oldest farms in the country is now a leader in innovation. Stay with us.
AgDay, brought to you by Prosaro Fungicide from Bayer. In the Country, sponsored by Kubota. Tractors, hay tools, utility vehicles, mowers, and more. Visit Kubota.com today.
Before the U.S. even declared its independence, this farm family was already in business. Today, it's being recognized as the 2018 Innovative Dairy Farm of the Year. At first glance, or first feeding, Schrock Family Farm in Loganton, Pennsylvania appears to be the typical dairy. Milking about 1,000 cows and farming 2,500 acres in the middle of the state.
The parlor that we're in were built in the 50s, and we were milking 2.5 times a day in a double nine, and we either needed to get out or get bigger.
It's a family-run operation that predates the birth of the nation.
We're part of a family farm that dates back to 1773.
With roots that deep, it's taken a commitment to innovation and sustainability to keep the parlor pumping. From installing a digester and running a 200 kilowatt generator since 2006.
We produce about 100,000 cubic feet of gas a day, and that's run through the engine. It's turned into 3,000 to 4,000 kWs of electricity.
It provides heat for water and drying, offsetting propane costs and reducing greenhouse gases.
The power that we produce here exceeds our total power requirements and probably 25% above that.
It also helps to feed this, the Schrock Family Farm Field.
We did all the things we're doing today for the wrong reasons.
They started in no-till in the early 70s to avoid picking stones. The shallow, rocky soils brought stones to the surface on every tillage pass.
But it wasn't until years later that we found out the real advantages in the soil structure and the lack of erosion and the sustainability that comes along with no-till.
Now lately, it's been cover crops helping feed that soil.
The key to healthy soils is cover crops, no-till, not disturbing the soil, and basically mimicking nature. We're keeping our soils here, and we're not only keeping our soils here, but we're actually adding to our soils.
An accomplishment 245 years in the making, as this legacy of innovation shapes the future for generations to come.
When I look at our family photos and see the next generations and the generation after that coming, it's very exciting for me.
Congratulations to the Schrock Family Farm, the 2018 Innovative Dairy Farm of the Year. Congratulations, and quite the accomplishment. That's all the time we have this Monday morning. We're sure glad you started your week with us. For Cindy Clausen, Tyne Morgan and Betsy Gibbon. I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
Ag Day, brought to you by Ram Commercial, America's longest-lasting heavy-duty pickups.